But more on that afterwards. We got this winners match to get through. This is, of course, brought to you guys thanks to TING, bttv.ting.com. You know the drill. Hit it up, check it out, sign up, and support esports all at the same time while you save yourselves a couple of bucks, hopefully each month on your phone bill. But in this top right, to kick off the series, it's going to be Team Liquid's Red Zerg player, Snute.
In the bottom right, as the Green Terran, he's uThermal.
So the last time we saw this map in the same matchup with Snutes particularly, it was a 2-port opening out of Kelazur that did kind of wreck him. Hopefully he doesn't have like PTSD on the map or something like that, because the thing is, uThermal's the type of guy who would go for a build like that. I'm not saying that's his go-to, but he is the type of guy to pull off stranger builds.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I could definitely see him also going for the Sky Terran that we've been seeing from other Terrans. It's making the rounds, I guess, and everyone's experimenting with it once or twice, well, like drugs. No, not like drugs. Don't do drugs.
Dare to be cool. uThermal, actually, what's kind of cool about him is he's a player who rather. And I'm not saying he doesn't, but this is strictly speaking of what he's showcased in things we've cast of him. Rather than be a player who says, you know what, I'm going to improve in the very late game and take on Ultralisks better, I will instead try and end the game before they even get to Ultralisks. Like, that is the type of player that uThermal is, just at his core, at least from what we see. So, yeah, types of builds like that are certainly not out of question. I really don't see this going towards a super late game. And not because of Snute, but because of uThermal.
I agree. Not a lot of Terrans like that late game. Thermal has sometimes been vocal on his stream about it too. But it's also lair lack, so I certainly don't see it happening in this game, in these positions. uThermal has almost always gone for the factory push on this one, so if he was going to go for the Sky Terran, it'd be because it has been making the rounds, you know, like it is something that people are doing and it looks somewhat effective. But for otherwise, he just has been going for tank pushes. And he's really good at them too. His control is top notch, and that's really where the tanks have their highlights, is in the control of a good player who can micro them effectively, but also can find the right positions for them. Now, if it was cross, I think uThermal would lose this game, as he has before, but in these positions I feel quite confident for him. We have Snute going for a Roach-Warren and a Ling speed, so maybe something that was akin to what he did versus Kelazur, but this time without 2-port Banshee. To kill him for it.
As the retaliation. Now uThermal is going to have some Hellions, and that's standard, but not necessarily good. I feel like deja vu here as we talk about how Hellions are not good versus Roaches, but they are good against Lings, and what Roaches turn into, oddly enough, the Ravagers.
Mm-hmm. The scariest thing about a bust is not the Roaches or the Banelings that bust you, depending on what you're doing. It is the Ling flood afterwards that surrounds all of your units and gets into the, nook and crannies of your mineral line. Hellion Banshee is ideal against this, and this reaction of uThermal is ideal too. Pulling the SCVs, not even bothering trying to wall off his natural.
So I actually like that Reaper, while dying, did get some very valuable information on the way out. And saw the Roaches, confirming no third back-to-back. He knew exactly what was coming. Now the Hellions go across the map to try and do some counterattack damage, which I think is kind of cute. Snute did pull back from the natural base to make sure that this wouldn't get too out of hand, but while this Banshee will eventually clean things up, it is one Banshee. We saw how long it took 4 Banshees to clean this attack up.
Right? Yeah, so it's going to get Cloak too. Cloak isn't as important. It would be helpful in the counter, but there's going to be Spore Crawlers no matter what, because obviously Sneak's going to have a long time to deal with this.
Cloak was actually denied, so...
Exactly, that's what I said. It's not as big of a deal, because I don't think it would have added too much to the counter.
It's an interesting place to take your third.
Yes, it is. So the Hellions, for the most part, died, it looks like. So this one Hellion has quite a job to do against all of these Lings. 10 SCVs have gone down for 2 bases is
This
recoverable.
Is probably, I don't know. This is not feeling good. I mean, there's a second Banshee
14,
coming
15.
out, but a lot of SCVs have gone down.
Okay, 10 to 20 real quick, it's pretty bad. If he just had any of those Hellions alive, if he had 2 instead of 1 Hellions, I think he actually does not take those extra 12 SCV losses.
So he tried to go across the map very, very much intentionally to do some damage to Snute here, right?
Yeah.
Snute having pulled back meant that there just wasn't that damage done. So yeah, in most scenarios, if the Zerg is playing complacent, you get drone kills, and it's kind of not necessarily worth your while, but it helps even up the situation. This time, not the case, and Snute protected his own very nicely. Now, the queens are actually going to have a bit of interesting dynamic here. Again, no cloak, but transfuses will outweigh banshees in this situation.
Well, oddly enough, there wasn't a spore crawler in the natural, so if he did have cloak, he could have been able to do a lot of damage here. I don't know why Snute. I guess because he did deny cloak, and he knew that, he just decided not to go for it.
He's got to know this, right? The Overlord sees it. Okay, so he knows the base is there.
Yeah. But yeah, the cloak wouldn't have added much. Snute was getting so many queens. They would have just hugged a spore crawler for a while, and this time there wasn't 6 banshees. There was just the 2. So GG.
All right, Snute will take the first game in the series. That was kind of cute seeing that third base try and mine the way it did. I mean, kudos to the effort here, the hustle out of uThermal. Of course, now realizing, by the way, too, didn't connect these dots before, it's all Europeans left at this point for this group. So uThermal set the first one out.
Kelzer.
Or Kelzer, thank you. Sorry. Brain not working.
Wow. Calling it, man.
Being sick. Hello. But okay, we'll get the next map up, which is...
Arena.
I get the map intro for that loaded, too. And I'm really excited for Detox, actually.
It's a fun map.
Good at when they are. By the way, I'm glad to see people are getting their part 2. People are tweeting them out at us. I know that some were late and some were a couple months late even because of our whole BlizzCon December debacle and all that. But glad to see they're actually getting to people, because my paranoia lies in the fact that we don't have... I can't afford to tack on $5 for tracking on every single one of these that we send out type thing. So if they get lost, they just kind of get lost, and nobody knows, our end or your end, what happened. But it's nice to see that some of them are starting to get through. 6 weeks late, but still coming nonetheless. I still have to send all the ones from January out, all the new people from January and February. Or no, I did January, excuse me. February was the one that I have to get out still.
Everyone in America should have gotten theirs, except one guy who did not put his correct address.
It's always the postal code. They always fuck up on the postal code.
This guy didn't put a state or the rest of his actual address.
Facepalm.
So that was annoying.
Okay, see you guys here in a sec. All right, welcome back. Game number 2 underway here in the winners match for the TING Open. This is round of 16, Group 1, and spawning on the top left side, it's going to be the Red Zerg player, Team Liquid Snute.
In the bottom left, as the Green Terran, he's uThermal.
And it's worth noting, stayed in his own base.
Yeah, no proxy this time. Kelzer did try it and still ultimately failed, even if it took a couple of minutes. So, still not a good win record on that one.
Yeah, between the two of them, though, if it was someone I would expect to make it work, it would be uThermal out of the two. No offense to Kelzer, I just think uThermal's got a lot more experience cheesing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We've seen uThermal do it once or twice. He is in that statistic of not doing very well.
Nobody makes it look good. There's not a single person who's made it look good. Even the times that one time it worked, I didn't remember it. So it's not even a vivid thing where you're like, oh, it was so sick. I can't believe they pulled that off.
Yeah.
It never seems like a good idea ever.
So, Snute doing 2 cheeses on Lairlac Crest is kind of funny. Maybe it's his go-to build when he has those positions set up or what, but also both working so fantastically against a decent setup too. If uThermal had just kept the Hellions at home, he probably would not have taken the extra 12 SCV damage, and then the game would have gone on, and we would have seen, maybe a longer game, even if Snute might have eventually still won. But uThermal is good with those tanks, and that's what I really expected him to do last game. Instead, of course, he went for the Hellion Banshee. This game, I still expect it, because you can abuse tanks on those ledges on Arena. And if it's allowed to go up to that point, so Snute doesn't go for the link drop, for instance, then I think that uThermal will like this map a lot. I forget who chose it, to be honest. I don't remember who was first. Snute was A, so this would have been uThermal's choice.
Quick shout outs to 10th Finest for the 2-month resub. Thank you very much for coming back.
Woohoo!
Got some action down as the Reaper gets into the base on the other side of the map. Question, of course, really is what can this do? Scouting, normally the biggest deal, because you want to see whether there's going to be more than 3 queens out. Well, it's not common for Snute, for example, to do the queen or the queen link drops. It is just common on this map, period. And I'm sure uThermal's had his fair share of losses to it. So if you start seeing an abnormal amount of queens early on, that's probably the quick early signs that you got to keep an eye out on your ledges.
Yeah, you got to be wary. But 1 extra queen is not so big of a deal. 2 bigger deals, obviously. But there's no evolution chamber. He's still droning, so it's not going to be that all in from Snute. He gets a 3rd base. He should be getting a Roach Warren. I think on this map, it's either a 2-base layer into Roaches or it's a Roach Warren. Going in a needle lane, playing on a macro game in this map, just not asking. It's asking for a lot of trouble. But uThermal is going to be starting off with a Widow Mine drop, which Snute has the potential to just absolutely shut down if he's got all of his ducks in a row. His queens are in position and his lings are on top of it. He'll be able to stop the Widow Mine from burrowing because he should not have detection.
So you bring up ducks, and I'm just completely segment away from StarCraft 2 for a moment. I've been playing Stardew Valley, right?
Yes.
And you know how in like Harvest Moon you can get like chickens and stuff? You can get ducks, dude.
Sure.
You can get ducks for your little chicken coop. So I have 2 chickens and 2 ducks.
Well, there was like one Harvest Moon game, I think, that you could feed ducks at like a pond. But I don't think they gave you anything. I don't know. There's actually been a lot of Harvest Moon games. All the way back to the NES? Maybe? No, not that old. Gosh,
No, I think SNES. For me,
yeah,
that was the first one I
Nintendo.
played, at least.
Okay. That sounds better. But, alright, so the Widow Mine drop is just completely denied. Like, he could have tried to boost in, and then probably would have lost the medevac, and maybe gotten good kills with the drones, but that is not something that he wants to bet on, because the medevac with its marines is too useful. He is going for that 2-base push. Getting all of his barracks right now, 4 at a time, in fact, and starting that tank count a little bit. Only 1 right now. It looks like he's going to prioritize those marines over tanks. Swap the reactor off in that factory.
Queen's taking a considerable amount of damage to that poor medevac.
I'd be very careful. This is units he does not want to give up for free, that's for sure.
No, too bad that Widow Mine was not off the cooldown. Nice position with the Spore Caller to snipe it.
So Snute is going for Roach Warren. Glad to see that. He got away with quite a bit of greed. Let's fly blocked right now. But to be able to get away with no Roach Warren, not really a lot of lings either, just wait. That Queen defense is a really good start for Snute, who is going to be able to take this push whenever it does come from uThermal a lot better because of it.
Of course, scouting for a 3rd, couple lanes just kind of come across the map. It wasn't really a big attack force. Queen's starting to spread that creep down the middle of the map, too. I don't know. For Snute and uThermal, what I find interesting about this, right, is it kind of goes back to that point of saying uThermal's the type of guy who wants to end the game before it gets to Hive Tech. He wants to not have to deal with Snute's macro. Macro, on the other hand, is Snute's game. Like, that's what he's best at. Get 7 bases, get hella banelings, get lots of mutas, roaches, whatever.
I still believe in uThermal's control on this push that he's setting up. He's finally started tank production again. He really did want to prioritize the reactors on the barracks, however, first, and I'm not sure about that decision. His control is so good, whether it's tanks or marines, but I feel like on this map, it's tanks that really highlight, you know, the bridge, which we see right now, or the ledge, where he's going to, with this tank drop, if not this ledge, then a ledge over to the right where the 4th base meets the 3rd. Like, there are a lot of good positions for tanks here, and prioritizing marines over that, it's a stylistic decision, but we'll see what uThermal can do with it. He is trying to add on Marauders. He's probably going to get Marauders slow, but it is just been marines for the most part.
I'm curious about Snute's choice to constantly keep running around the map instead of just tearing down those rocks.
Yeah, I'm not sure, because I think most Terrans are using this bridge with this push, so it's not like he'd be doing uThermal a favor if he broke down those rocks, but oh well. 3 tanks is quite a lot. They're going to find that position I was talking about. The stim on the Ravagers, there's nothing to protect them.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
okay,
damn.
they just got to get on top of everything. Normally you got to fight through lings and roaches to get those kills. Now, of course, the tanks are being picked off, and the surprising amount of queens from earlier are proving to be quite good defenders in this situation. Like, WTF, mate.
In the blink of an eye, I think the tank splash on the army had something to do with it, but the queens and the Spore Crawler getting on top of those medevacs so quickly was not something uThermal anticipated. He really thought he was in a better position because of that initial stim, and, well, actually, he probably just lost the game because of how overeager he was.
I mean, I can't blame him. For a moment, that looked like a great attack, and then the queens just kind of said, well, we have 175 health. The end.
Yeah, they really helped taking out those medevacs. Of course, allowing yourself to be surrounded by lings also didn't help, where he definitely could have gone for the slower push-in, you know? Like, leapfrog, but...
It's like hilarious looking at the queen count. I mean, queens don't have great damage, but they've got good enough damage. When there's a lot of them, it's certainly a threat. And, of course, the health pool, the transfuses... This is funny to me, because in a situation where uThermal had a lot of bio, these queens wouldn't be a problem, but he doesn't have a lot of bio. And this concave comes in, and medevacs are being focused down. Snute's queens are just... They're good at being meat
Queens
shields.
are so good! He has a counterattack, that's where the rest of his army is, by the way, but he cleans this up with queens and a handful of lings.
Yeah, meanwhile on the other side of the map, those corrosive bios land, tanks go down. There's not a lot left at this point, but still, Snute's the one actually getting drone kills. uThermal throws away a whole army and trades out for queens. For queens, Zombie Grub.
This is a funny game. You know, we saw Snute do this, I'm pretty sure.
Queens.
Either it was Snute or TLO against, I think, a Protoss. You know, like, the mass queen thing sounds vaguely familiar on this map, but I'm pretty sure it's against a different race. So I don't know what magic they found for queens on this map.
Depot's not raised. GG. Snute now with a 2-0 lead over uThermal. But now comes a bigger question to me. Let's say Snute does 3-0 this, because we're going to Detox next, a map that Snute's very familiar with, but uThermal might not be. Let's assume it's a 3-0 in a worst-case scenario for a moment. Then you have the rematch. But uThermal's so good at TVP. Does the rematch curse allow Mana to win, or is uThermal's TVP so good that it could beat Mana and a curse simultaneously?
I think the curse would win.
Maybe. We'll find out. We're gonna go to the next game here ASAP though, because Detox, of course, we've seen a couple of times today. This is awesome because we didn't see it at all through a couple groups, like we just not even picked once. But we've seen it several times today. We're gonna see it one more time here now in this match.
It has been a blast so far. Enjoyable tournament, definitely.
Okay, bit of a funky map. Bit of a different map here in the best of 5, and this could be the decider, as he is up 2-0, spawning in the top right, winning one more game will secure his place in the round of 8. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Liquid's Snute.
In the bottom left, as the green Terran, he's uThermal.
Oh, there's Nathanius in chat. Nathanius, you need to go watch Kelazur versus Snute, Lyralac Crest. You will enjoy it. It's like bookmark that one for our good friend Nathanius, because we know how much he would love it. Actually, so fun fact actually about Nathanius in particular. Like everyone knows, Nathanius is a great caster. Blah 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 blah. I don't need to stroke his ego. But the thing for me that like sold me on Nathanius, other than just him being like a Terran, this is before he really got into casting, was when he was another guy who was like stoked about like 2-3 port Banshee belts. I'm like, all right, this guy seems cool.
God, I first saw Nathanius back when he still wore his Nathanius headband.
Yeah, the headband was like iconic. I'm so sad he doesn't have it anymore. Apparently he lost it when he was moving or something. I don't know the full story. But anyways, enough about Nate. He's not even here. Pfft, that guy. Probably gonna cast some Tespa League or something.
Probably. Something stupid like that.
That reminds me, we are casting the CSL later tonight, folks. So this isn't our only cast today. 7 p.m., Zombie and I will be back, but not on this channel. Sadly, that will be over on the CSL channel. So if you want some, what is almost equivalent to drunk casting, please make sure to come tune in over there.
Kind of. That's how we get through the day.
We've also hit 6K, by the way. I'm sure that number's going to spike down by the time you guys have heard this on stream, but 6K hype for today's viewership. That's good to see. But okay, for Snute, we talked about him having played on this map several times. Snute is one of the avid players who constantly sign up for things like the Corsair Cup and pretty much any of our weird tournaments we throw on the side outside of the big main events. And he is actually one of the players who's mentioned to me that, he doesn't play a lot of ladder like he used to. Most of his practice comes from tournament grinding, and he's thankful we throw a lot of these cups and things. So again, this is a guy who, because this is in our map pools in all of our tournaments, has played on Detox several times. And I got to tell you, just coming into this with 10 games played, 15 games played versus uThermal's 2, it's got to feel a lot better for Snute, especially when you're up 2-0 like this.
Yeah. We don't usually get to talk about it too much because so many tournaments have just, resigned to having the ladder map pool. So there's no talk about who has practiced this more. Maybe if you have some insider knowledge, you know that a pro gamer vetoes Central, for instance, all the time. But that is pretty rare to have this map. GSL, I think, is the only other one that has the different maps, and even those aren't played too commonly, from what I've seen. Not that I see every single GSL game for sure. I miss a lot of them, but Shear and the other one, I forget the name.
Sky Shield.
Yeah, that one. I haven't played too often.
Well, I mean, seeing them in the Sidebite Racehorse is pretty cool. I liked Sky Shield. I didn't really care much for Shear, to be honest. Like it was a cool map design. I'm not criticizing that. I thought Sky Shield was way cooler. Plus, it had the Carbot Zergling Easter egg, so it's always that.
Yeah, that's always cute.
But okay, so uThermal's sticking on 2 bases? No, okay, he's going to take a 3rd CC. This was, of course, going to be pretty influential on how the match gets played out because, again, let's not forget that uThermal is a player who can play off of 2 bases. He can get aggressive, sure. But this is still a map that, despite having 2 openings, is still pretty easy 3rd to secure. So deciding not to go for that would have been really questionable. Bunker down, full wall off, he's good to go. These Lings aren't going to get to do too much. Snute does not have Overlord speed, so I don't think we'll see drops following this up.
No, but the early Baneley Nest is kind of odd. So uThermal does throw out Hellbat builds once in a while, which, you get the early Baneley Nest you have no trouble with. But other than that, there's not much of a reason in Legacy of the Void to get such an early one. It feels, anyways. We see a lot of people, if they're going to go for Muta, they wait for the Spire to be, started or even halfway done before they start their Baneley Nest. They're really trying to be quite greedy with it. So I wondered if he was going to try and do something with a push, but he's still droning.
I think Snute goes for the Baneley Nest a little bit earlier because let's also not forget uThermal, throughout his entire career in HOTS, was the Hellbat push guy.
Yeah,
and well, that's not happening here, obviously. It's safe than sorry when you're up 2-0. Why throw away a free game by playing a little too complacent,
Yeah.
This bunker's funny.
Little.
I'm trying to think what this would particularly help with, right? Let's say your first wall falls. Lings are still going to be able to run by this.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. It's maybe he didn't realize what he was looking at when he put it down. Maybe a little confused because of the map. I don't know, but it's odd. So Snute is actually really delaying his lair, even though he is going to be going for a Spire, which is a build that is, I feel, really archaic to actually get the upgrades first. We either see 2-base layer or 3-base layer Spire before upgrades. So you get it at some good time. But this is going to be pretty late. In fact, so late that uThermal might not even be expecting it. He's not really gotten a lot of scouting. This Banshee should be able to see the amount of Lings and no roaches and be able to say, okay, you're going to go for needling bling, but I'm not sure how it's going to see the main base. Snute takes a hidden base. I actually have confidence calling it hidden.
Yeah, it's definitely the road less traveled. The Banshee gets a couple of kills, which is nice. Big love to Zykoz, by the way, for that 23-month resub, and Gotrek Godfire as well for the 10 months. Sorry that we're lacking on the sub shoutouts today, guys. Sorry. Being sick is not helping my concentration of things.
Well, I said he might be going or he's probably going for a Spire, but there was another option. Okay, he's going to go for a Spire. But there was another option. We've seen, I think, Cyril, I want to say, but maybe another Zerg too, reintroduce the Ling All-Ins. So the 3-base Ling All-In, the 1-1 Ling All-In, and then there did exist one that also waited for centrifugal hooks and really did not put a lot of money and gas into mutas, if any at all. And Snute just playing back to a different time, an older time. He's just going for the macro game. I mean, uThermal has done nothing to punish him for it too, which is the worst thing I think for uThermal. Snute's going to be able to get up to 4 bases. He hasn't really done any aggression himself. He defended against the Hellings, no problem, and is also going to go ahead and, because of all of that, get an infestation pit really quickly too. Ooh. So
yeah,
just and trying to get real quick to that hive.
Regardless of style type, I think at the end of the day, it is that hive. It not only puts a clock on 99% of the Terran players out there, but it is also that choking point for uThermal a lot of the time. Now, I do want to make this very clear, guys. uThermal is a player who certainly knows how to deal with Ultralisks, and given the perfect situation, would have Ghosts or Liberators or Thors or whatever his heart desires. But unfortunately, it feels like every time we do cast him, when it comes to Hive Tech, he's always noticing too late. he gets the information a little too delayed, and he doesn't have the appropriate units to deal with said ultras.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is always a fear for Terran, is that they're a little bit too late by the time the ultras are out. He's pushing now, but
he doesn't have combat shields. Oh my god. Just realized.
Yeah, it's supposed to finish before a fight happens, and it should, because Snute might push off of creep, but it's never like ideal for a Zerg player.
Right, it's just the concept that Hive's going to be done before combat shields did. Like, are we casting true? Like, what's going on here?
No, this is not a very good game for uThermal. Snute got away with so much greed. Even if he is going for meter-lane bling, which usually has a weak point in the mid-game, I think that has just been done away with how much Snute got away
that's
in
a
this
lot
game.
of banelings. He already has 17, there's another 14 in production, he's going to have 30-something banelings to work with. Not a problem to take on this small amount of Marines in play. Even if he takes a bad Widowmine hit, there should still be plenty of banelings left after this.
Yeah. I mean, the only downsides for Snute here, the only thing he, I guess, missed out on a little bit, was the creep spread. It's not too far forward, but it's enough that he'll have an alert to uThermal push, and also enough that he will be able to protect his bases, at least initially. Of course, one sweep of the scan should be able to clean up most of these creep tumors. Another hidden base, really interesting how Snute is taking this map approach.
It's weird to call it hidden, but I kind of agree.
It is not hidden. I don't think he's thinking like, oh, I'm so clever, like he'll never find this base because no one ever gets the base. I think he actually looked at this map and said everyone else is going for the gold because it's so appealing. And then the other base is also closer to me, the other mineral, blue minerals. But this one gives me a better defensive setup if he tries to go up the ramp. Which, that does kind of remind me of older maps, back when TDZ was all about, like, who could break who on the 4th base. Could Terran do it or could they not? And then the game was over afterwards.
So, uThermal scanned the main, by the way. He saw the timing on the Hive, but he didn't see it finish, and he didn't see Ultra's Cavern start, so I am a little bit worried. He's going really heavy into Marauder production, so I think he kind of has an idea. Liberator's coming out. He went for, like, a single Thor to zone out the mutas, but my gosh, that is just so many. You don't see Zerg players get away with 43 banelings often anymore. Snute has a colossal amount of them. And the thing I like about Snute is he's the type of player that doesn't just going to A-move all of his army at once. He'll segment 3 or 12 off at a time and try and get those hits. These Lings, of course, not getting those hits. Looking to collide here, takes out some of the Widow Mines. Decent hits, but not good enough.
No, they weren't. So I was just worried that Widow Mine was going to get hit on the banelings.
Just 70 more Lings.
He has a lot of larvae. He had a lot of minerals, and we use it all, and those ultras and those lings. And there's so much going in favor of Snute here. Now, uThermal, his best game would be to be very careful with an attack like this, like never really dedicate to it, always make Snute come to him, and then try and get to a 4th base and an in-game composition that can meet with ultras, which is possible. He does have a 4th, it's just not on location yet. But he actually is going to scan here, and just tap out, JK.
Inglorious, but congratulations to Snute. He'll be the first one out of the group, and he'll be the first player into the round of 8 for the TING Open.
Woohoo!
So congratulations to Snute. But uThermal, perhaps he just wanted more FaceTime here to impress us once again with his Protoss. I'm unsure. But I do need to eat one of these halls, and we do need to get to some more sponsored commercial breaks. So guys, Grand Finals coming up. One best of 5 left. It's going to be Mana versus uThermal, a rematch of the first series today. I do want to thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you've enjoyed the TING Open. This course is brought to you thanks to TING. They're a U.S. mobile phone service, and the message they really want to get across is they can help you save money. A lot of the time, you're paying for a lot of features on your phone you're not really using, and with their rates, which we'll go over again in a moment, I know we did it already once today, it is a pay-what-you-use system. So if you use less, you pay less. If you pay more, you pay more. Or sorry, if you use more, you pay more. But at the end of the day, you can cut down on a lot of costs without changing your smartphone experience from whatever you're currently using, and perhaps save money in the process. The really cool feature they have on their website, which again you should go to bttv.ting.com to check out, is this savings calculator that lets you see just exactly how much you'll save by possibly swapping to Ting. So do stick around. We'll go through some ads, and we'll see you guys for the Grand Finals match when we return.